Yay!
Yay!
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 234.
We're getting up there.
It's true. We are.
People are waiting for episode 262, because 26.2 for a marathon. So people are thinking that's something. Maybe we'll do the show live while we're running a marathon.
Let's get there first. What is up, everyone? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 234. Very excited about tonight's episode because it was a huge weekend in ultra running. One of the biggest 100-milers in the country, both by in number of runners that participate, also size of aid stations, and just overall badassiveness. Making up words.
Badassiveness?
Sure. The Javelina 100 took place this weekend, which is a party in the desert. It sounds like a huge number of people managed to crush that 100-mile distance, and they have other distances there as well. But we're joined tonight by the race director, Jamil Coury. This is going to be really a great episode because there's just so many stories that come out of this race. Over the years, we've had our guest on tonight talking all about this race, and we've had guests on before who have run it. Amazing stories, all from all walks of life, people who just crushed it out there and got their buckle. So we have the race director on tonight to talk some about some of those stories, but also he himself has been on some pretty big epic journeys over the last few months, including the Tahoe 200, a trip to China to race there, been making films like crazy, and very recently this weekend directed the Javelina 100. So this should be a fantastic episode. Jamil Coury is on tonight. We love him, and to have him on the show again, it's just, we know it's going to be fun. So we're getting ready to have some fun tonight.
Off to a great start.
I don't know why I'm not on point, but we'll get it situated.
I think Jamil's making you nervous.
I'm a little nervous. I always get a little fangirly with Jamil. He's kind of a big deal.
He is a big deal, yeah.
All right, everyone. Get ready. Ginger Runner Live begins now. Ginger Runner. Yay! What is up, everybody? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 234. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedules on Monday night to spend a little bit of it with us. This is going to be a good episode. Our guest tonight is a favorite of ours, a favorite of our audiences. I don't know if tonight's episode ties the record of most appearances by a single guest. It's up there. We'll have to have someone from the viewership figure out the math on this because I think Jamil Coury, our guest tonight, might be up there with the most appearances on this show.
People love Jamil. There's a lot of Jamil fans.
A lot of Jamil love.
And a few of our Patreon supporters are actually at Jamil's event this weekend running.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've been a big fan of him, not only from a filmmaking perspective. He's got a wonderful YouTube channel, multiple channels that do really funny content, as well as some really great race videos, all that sort of stuff. We're a big fan of Jamil Coury and his work. But his whole team just put on some amazing events in Arizona and elsewhere. But they're a great group of people. Jamil himself, a race director, filmmaker, ultra runner extraordinaire, had a busy summer running the Tahoe 200, traveling to China in a very short amount of time, racing in China, then coming back to the States to direct the Javelina 100, amongst other races. So we have him on the show tonight to talk all about those adventures, including this weekend's Javelina 100, and some of the amazing stories that came out of that race. So it should be a lot of fun. But it's not just Jamil and myself. We're also joined by you.
Yes.
Cool. All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
As always, you guys, my name is Kim, and I am in the chat room. Just a reminder, we are live right now. We do have Jamil here with us. So if you guys have questions for him, please pop them into the chat room.
Yes. And we like to start every show by thanking a particular group of people who help make this show happen week in, week out, month in, month out. And those are our Patreon supporters at all levels, from as little as $1 a month on up. They basically contribute and make sure that the show happens every single Monday. All of our reviews and videos and films happen every single Thursday or Friday. They are a wonderful group of human beings. 3 individuals in particular at that top tier we like to shout out at the beginning of every episode, just to show our love and appreciation. Chris Lee from Hong Kong has a company there called Trailblazer. They showcase and help those who are in the Hong Kong area run and check out some of the most amazing trails in that area. It's a wonderful organization. They do a lot of great things for charity as well. They have a can run coming up. Basically, it's a 25K. They have shorter distances as well, where you run the distance with a can of food in your backpack or more, and at the finish line, you donate it to a charity, and it's a wonderful cause. So if you're in that area, please check out the can run put on by Trailblazer. Rick Bjarnason and his team at cheekymonkeymedia.ca. They're a web design company. They do big corporate websites around the world. They are redoing the Ginger Runner website, which is pretty cool of them. Rick himself is a big ultra runner. Attempted the Sinister 7 this summer. Fat Dog 120 unfortunately was canceled, but he runs 30 miles for breakfast. Like, this guy's pretty damn badass. So big shout out to Rick. And finally, Brian Sands, a longtime viewer and supporter of the show, has been there for a long time, has an amazing journey himself, ran his first marathon last year, first 50K this summer, training for his first 50 miler. Just a wonderful human being. And later in this episode, we are going to tell you a little something that Brian is giving to our GR crew, and we'll announce that at the end of the show. And then in the post show, we'll tell you how the Patreon supporters, the GR crew, can win a really amazing prize brought to us by Brian Sands. He just loves the community so much. It's pretty amazing. So we'll talk about that later in the show. Without further ado, our guest tonight is an ultra runner, filmmaker, race director, long-haired badass. There have been multiple. I just want to introduce him, but that's what I'll do. And then I'll tell my anecdotal story. Without further ado, coming to us all the way from Arizona, the Phoenix area, Mr. Jamil Coury.
Yay!
How are you, buddy?
How's it going? Thanks
Good,
for having me again.
Yes.
Good to be back.
We don't know if you are now officially the most guested person on this show, or we don't know where you're at, but you're up there.
I'm honored, really.
Okay, good.
There's some people in the chat room mentioning Gary Robbins and David Roach.
Yep.
As kind of being up there as well.
Yep. Jamil, we'll make you number one.
Sweet, let's do it.
The anecdotal story was just every time I see a long-haired gentleman, I always like, Jamil, he's in Seattle, or Jamil, he's wherever we are.
Like out on the trails or
and
something.
I'm always so disappointed that it's not you.
It used to be Anton. I always got confused for Anton years ago, which is pretty fun.
There is no Anton. There is only Jamil. So I feel like there's so much that we can catch up on. You had what sounds like a pretty epic summer.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Well, I don't know. I mean, I didn't really race much personally, but we were all over the place. We took over this race in Utah called the Tushers Mountain Runs, and it was a race put on originally founded by Matt Gunn of Ultra Adventures, and then put on by Vacation Races, who bought out Ultra Adventures, and we had the opportunity to take over that race. So kind of bouncing around between Silverton and Utah and Arizona. So yeah, very, very busy summer. And then I snuck in the Tahoe 200 at the end of the summer.
I like that you're just going to sneak in a 200.
But I mean, it's not the only race you snuck into. I know that you did the race over in China, but let's start with the Tahoe 200. And for those who are watching live, maybe this is your first time meeting Jamil, seeing Jamil, or hearing about what he does, but he's a great individual to ask all of those questions regarding all levels of this sport, from being a runner himself, being a filmmaker, seeing the backside of that sort of thing and telling stories, but then also being a race director. He kind of has that whole gamut. So if you have any questions regarding any of those facets of the sport, jump into the chat room, let Kim know. We'll get those to Jamil tonight. But I want to start with that Tahoe 200. I love that you just threw it in at the end of the summer. That event is no joke. We've had Candace on. We've had other guests who have completed that on the show. We've talked a lot about it and that 200 distance. You had to have trained for this, right? Like, I know you had a really busy summer with directing and all that sort of stuff, but where did you get your training in, and were you prepared going into such a big event?
I didn't feel very prepared. I think, honestly, for the 200-mile distance, a lot of it is if you don't have the training in the couple months leading up to it, if you've had years of ultra running and long distance foot travel, which I do have, I think you can rely upon that and you can kind of fake your way through it. I had a really busy month leading up to it. Was also opening a pizza restaurant here in Phoenix.
That's right. Let's not forget about that.
I almost forgot about that. Yeah.
You opened a pizza store, Freak Brothers Pizza.
Yeah, with my brother. So he's the operator of it, but I'm still pretty involved with it. So that was, I think, the week of Tahoe was our grand opening, which was insane. So I think I had a couple sleepless nights, and I was falling asleep at the race briefing. But it's definitely a lot of fun. I had a couple 0 weeks in the last month leading up to it. But earlier in the summer, I did have a few good blocks. I probably had three-week blocks where I was between 70 and 100 miles a week. So yeah, it wasn't nothing, but it wasn't probably ideal.
I mean, I know that you mentioned just having the years of experience under your legs. Again, for those unfamiliar, Jamil has attempted Barkley multiple times, has the experience in big, mountainous, rugged races over in Europe and across the globe. So you're no stranger to long, difficult distances. I know that for sure. So falling asleep at the race briefing, always a good sign. How did the race play out for you?
Because I was undertrained, I went what I felt was really easy from the beginning, really slow, letting people go by me. I was walking even the flats. So my strategy was pretty much the first 100 miles, I was going to walk all of the uphills, walk all of the flats. It's kind of my brother's strategy when he runs Hard Rock. It's like the Nick Coury strategy. So, we were right along the shore of Lake Tahoe, literally on a flat bike path, probably 13 miles in, and I'm walking for 3 miles, and everyone's passing me, and it was hard because it doesn't make sense to walk a flat section that early in the race. But for me, it was just a mindset that I'm going to go real casual the first half. And so that's pretty much what I did.
And that played out well, because following along, it seemed like you just kept moving up. And was there ever a point when you knew that you had it in the bag, like the distance itself, or was there ever a moment that you hit a wall, like a really dark place? How did those things play out for you, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, going into it, there was no way I wasn't going to finish this race. Like, I would finish pretty much at all costs. That's kind of how I go into every race. But getting to mile 100 was really hard. So it's I think officially 102 at Heavenly Resort. And I just wanted to be done. I was over where I wanted to be. I was hoping to be there in 24 hours, and if it was like 28, and I was thinking how, in a normal 100 miler, which is the furthest distance I've ever run prior to this, you're done at that point. And right. I really wanted to be done. So I took a really long time there. Actually, I got some food down, changed my socks, I think. But yeah, eventually, maybe 45 minutes later, just got up and marched out of the aid station. And actually, that was probably my best stretch, was 100 to 140, even though I was really, really tired and throwing back a ton of caffeine. I ran really strong through that section. And probably my biggest struggle was 140 to 180, maybe even specifically 150 to 180. I had my pacer was with me, Skylar Hall. And it was funny because he did 39 miles, I think, with me. And that was his second longest run ever.
Right.
So by the end, he was suffering possibly even more than I was. His stride was a little bit messed up, and he's kind of limping along.
Sorry, we just lost a little bit of the end of the sentence there. I think the internet crapped up, but I think we're back. Can you hear us okay?
Okay.
Yeah,
I can hear you guys. Okay.
You mentioned Skylar, and I'm just like, man, run flat, stay low. Love that guy. We have live questions coming from our live viewers, and of course, we like to get to those. Kim, what do we got?
Do you want to read this hard-hitting question here?
Oh, the hard-hitting question. I can't verify if that is him. First and foremost,
it may or may not be.
It may or may not be, but A. Jones Wilkins won in the chat room, which I'm assuming is Andy Jones Wilkins, but the fact that the name is A. Jones Wilkins 1 makes me think that Andy Jones Wilkins was taken by the real Andy Jones Wilkins.
Well, whoever it is saying, yes, it's me.
Two-ish questions. One, when will you be running Western States? And when you do, will you want me to be your pacer?
I mean, when will I run it next? Not sure. Hopefully within the next few years. I just got my Western States qualifier. And sure, I'd love to have AJW as my pacer. Be awesome.
Well, not AJW, but A. Jones Wilkins won. So we don't know.
A. Jones
yeah.
Wilkins won. I mean, if you are AJW, you know, the Jizzle Whizzle, then sure.
And the second question was boxers or briefs? Seriously, everyone wants to know. I think just Andy Jones Wilkins wants to know.
Running shorts all the time.
All the time. Great answer. Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, there's a question from Sean Jenkins in the chat room. Sean asked, how do you keep up with everything you do for the trail running community? Race directing, videos, Mountain Outhouse, etc. How do you do it all?
I feel like I don't keep up with it, but I try to do the best I can in all of it. You know, I have a lot of films that are on the back burner. But overall, I mean, number one, like I'm not doing all this alone, especially with our events, you know, with Air Viper running. We have a really big staff. We have, I think right now we have 25 to 30 people on our team.
Wow.
There's 4 of us that are full time and a few others that are pretty close to full time. And so it's a team collective effort. And so, yeah, and that's what I wanted to mention. I know we're not quite to the Javelina portion of this show, but you know, I'm not the race director of Javelina 100. Jubilee Page is the race director for Javelina 100. So she started last year kind of moving into that role. And then this year, like she's the race director. She does everything for that race. I am there to support. And it's not like I don't do anything. I'm very, very, very involved. But she's the face of that race now. And if you were at the race, you know that. You know, I mean, some people I think still aren't 100% sure that that's how, you know, it operates, but you know, they think she's maybe the announcer, but she's the race director. And a lot of what you see in the evolution of the race this year was a collection of, you know, my ideas and her ideas and our collective execution with our team. So the race wouldn't be what it is today without her. There's no doubt about that.
I think we need to end the show and just get Jubilee on then.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
I should have just responded back and said,
we're just going to hang up this. Let's see. Jubilee's on the other one. That's amazing. I love that she's now the race director of the race.
Yeah. But you should absolutely at some point have her on the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That would be.
And I mean, I was even commenting to Jamil before we started the show just how much I just felt like the event from afar, everything was done up to 11, and everyone that came out of that event and everything that I've been reading online and hearing from people who were there, we have a lot of viewers who were there, whether they were supporting or crewing or running. They loved it, and they thought that it was turned up to 11 this year. Just fantastic execution on all fronts. So testament to Jubilee taking the reins and just crushing it. So that's awesome. Big shout out to Jubilee. Nice. I do want to start talking about Javelina. Before we do, of course, I want to know about this. You made it seem like it was a real brief trip to China. How many days were you gone, and why?
Yeah,
what was it about?
I was gone on a Wednesday morning from Arizona, and I was back on Monday night. So I think officially, you know, 5.5 days door to door. But yeah, I actually in China, it was only a few days. So
that's amazing. And this was right after
Shanghai.
Tahoe.
What's that?
Right after Tahoe, right?
Yeah, it was like 5 weeks after. So, I mean, I think on the same day, there was all the people that ran Tahoe 200. They were all running Moab. And I couldn't imagine that. Even for me, doing 100K was a lot after that 200 miler.
It's amazing. Go ahead, Kim.
Brian Sands in the chat room wanted to know that after finishing the Tahoe 200, are you interested in running any other 200-mile races?
I kind of am. So I think I want to do Tour de Jante over in Italy. That sounds really something that's right up my alley and would kind of take things to the next level. I don't know why I'm compelled to keep doing this stuff, but you know, I guess it's out there and it sounds really amazing. And I've heard nothing but good things about that event. So it has, I think, twice as much climbing as Tahoe did, which that's appealing to me. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, that might be on the list in the next couple of years.
I feel like we've talked about that on the show with you before too. I think you've expressed interest in Tour de Jante a couple of times. I mean, it's what like knowing you, I associate you with very difficult races, long distances, things. I mean, I've known the stories where you've had terrible sufferfest at like Hard Rock and things like that. You like difficult endurance events. It's not, you know, I'm not picturing you signing up for the local color run or anything like that. You want.
Well, I mean,
unless you
it's
had
all
a couple
progression.
zeros on the back end.
It's a progression for me. You know, when I started out in the sport, I started out, the very first ultra I did was a fixed time event. It was a 12-hour run. So, but I am more drawn to that stuff, you know, and then I did all of my local ultras, like 50 milers, and and now I think I just keep seeking the next challenge, you know, both in my personal racing and race directing or, you know, event management as well. That's why I think we keep trying to up the experience at a race like Javelina and trying to add some new events like that. It's just, I think it's just part of who I am.
Let's get to a laugh question.
I mean, I feel like we might as well take care of this now because people keep asking. There's been multiple people in the chat room asking, is Barkley still on your radar to finish? And also, is Biggs backyard something that interests you?
Yeah, Barkley's still on my list for sure. And it's tough because this is the crux time of year that I think if I'm serious about Barkley, now is the time to start training. It's 5 months out, so approximately. And if usually you don't find out, like I don't know yet, but usually by the time you find out you're in the race, it's too late to start training. So, I kind of need to start gearing up for that.
You should.
Oh, as far as Biggs,
and Biggs,
I don't know that hasn't. I guess it hasn't appealed to me in the past, but watching it this year made me a little bit intrigued. It was such a stacked field. I mean, you could probably do a whole show. Well, I think you just did do a whole show on this. I wasn't able to tune in last week, but it's, you know, a lot of Barkley people are obviously out there and a similar vibe, just in a different way. So it was really inspiring to watch that take place last week. I think I stayed up really late one night when I probably should have been asleep right before prep and setting up, just watching that feed.
I love. So it's the same for us. Just talking specifically about that moment, we follow UTMB in a very similar manner. We're up all night. We're following the live tracking and the videos and the broadcasts and everything. And it's just what's going on? What's going on? Where are they? And it was the same for Biggs, but they are so different. Like one is every ad dollar has been thrown at this broadcast, and the people are live on a helicopter above Mont Blanc. And then Biggs is literally just it's a little system that every 40 minutes after the hour, you get a little, they finished a lap. That's it. And you're like, yeah, they finished a lap. I feel like that race is going to continue to get more and more popular.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start talking about Javelina because obviously this just occurred. It's a 100-mile distance out in the desert. We've talked about it on past episodes just being a party. Jackass Junction, big aid station there. The race itself, 20-mile loops, 5 loops, reverse washing machine. Tell us a little bit about what makes the event special and why we hear about it every year as being the destination race in October.
I mean, from the beginning of the race, you know, I didn't create the race. I inherited it. So it happened 5 times before, and I had volunteered at it, I think once or twice before I was able to take it over. And it's always been this party run, this fun run, this, you know, first time 100-miler romp through the desert. It's just kind of always had a unique flair. The race founder, Jerry Kilgariff, she was a pretty wild one in the sport back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and kind of well connected, knew everyone. She no longer runs old. You guys still there?
We just got you. Yeah. You
said okay. She no longer. So Jerry K is the race founder. She's pretty wild. And that kind of theme carries over. It's just a lot of fun. The fact that crews can't drive around the course and go to different aid stations, I think lends itself to just a really fun atmosphere at the start finish. A lot of people, you know, you meet other crews and you see everyone looping through, and we've just really played up on that a lot. With the Halloween costumes, there's always really interesting ones, and people are just out there to have a good time. And as far as Jackass Junction goes, you know, that's all Justin Ludick. He's took over that aid station a number of years ago. He used to run the race. He got third one year, and he lives within a few miles of the course. So he's just kind of adopted that as his own and put his own flair out there. And it's a disco party. in the middle of the desert. It's on the far side of the course, so it's something that's really unique.
I feel like it's grown a lot too, not only in namesake, people are talking about it a lot, but participants and the distances and everything. Where do you see it going? Like we talked about this year being bigger and better than every year previous. Where do you see it going from here?
Yeah, this race, we always continually evolve. I mean, when I took it over, it had 150 people, and I'm always looking for ways for this race to grow, to make it more fun, to have little unique surprises. And Jubilee's really carried that on as well and brought a lot of really fun ideas. She was like a theater major in college, so she knows, like, she loves all that kind of stuff, and is just really, really good at it. And so where is it going to go? I mean, hopefully we can just continue to, I mean, if we can add some more people while still maintaining the quality, I'm open to exploring that. Or potentially this year we added a new night race that was within the race. So we had a 1 and 2 lap of the course, and we had about 60 people. So it was actually really, really fun. There was basically this rave dance party that broke out at 6 p.m. at the start line, because all these jackass night trail runners were showing up, and pretty much all of them were in costume. They have all these glow things on them, and they're just amped. And the energy level there was insane. Jubilee was hyping them up, and the DJ was going, and they're just breaking out into dance. It was pretty cool to see. And then they head out into the night and kind of carry that energy along the course.
One thing I love about this race is that it being in October, it's also not the last chance, but certainly a great opportunity for people to get that Western States qualifier or a 100-mile finish before the end of the year. Do you find that you get a lot of people who maybe they tried to do a summer 100 or a summer experience and were like, oh, it didn't pan out. I want to do Javelina because I need to get my qualifier or that sort of thing. And how do you see that translate to success? Because I know that there's a lot of people that successfully they use Javelina as like a great opportunity to successfully get whatever their goal was from that year.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing that it's been known for, is a redemption 100. So if you've, for some reason didn't make it over the summer, Javelina is there, and you can come out, and it's well supported, and there's a lot of moral support with the other runners out there, and it's definitely doable. It's a tough race. It doesn't have the highest finishing percentage of all the events out there, but I think if you're smart, you can definitely finish this thing. Maybe not every time, but we had 367 finishers this year out of, I think, 565 starters.
Wow.
So we had about a 60% finish rate, which is above our historical average. It used to be about 50% finish rate, but last year and this year it's been up over 60%. So I think that's a win for us and a win for our participants. I would like to see it get higher if we can. So I don't know if maybe we can take some surveys on our DNFs and see what took them out. Sometimes it's just mental too. It's easy to drop in your lowest moment when you're at your car or your tent, and when there's a party going on, or out at Jackass Junction when there's a vehicle right there, a shuttle vehicle to take you right back to the start. You can just end the suffering right there. So yeah. I don't know. I'd love to see it go up. I'd love to hand out more buckles every year.
I feel like it's also it's a difficult race in that it's runnable. I know that that's one thing that we've been told a lot too, is that yes, it's 20-mile loops, but the loops are fairly runnable in the sense that what's the gain per loop? Is it like 1,000?
Yeah, probably 1,000. Yeah.
And people are caught off guard by that. They train for the distance, but not all the running. So it just turns out to be so much pounding. And I've heard stories from people just saying, I ran myself into the ground because I didn't walk. I didn't slow it down and actually do what I needed to do for 100. And it gets hot and all that.
It's exposed too. There's exposed. I mean, we like to say there's no shade on the course, which I was out there in the middle of the day this year doing some filming, and yeah, you can find like a saguaro if you stand really, really skinny. You can stand under a saguaro and get some shade, but then you're stopped. So yeah, while you're actually running on the course, you're not really getting much protection from the sun.
Notable stories from this year's race. Our winners, Pat Reagan, second-time winner, and Darcy PQ, who she's on a tear right now. I think this is her fourth 100-mile victory this year. Hurt, Rhonda Del Sims, Angeles Crest, right?
Yeah, Angeles Crest and
Javelina, which is insane. What are some other notable stories from this year's event?
Yeah, I think it was cool to see Luke Sanchez. He's 15. He's been in the sport for a couple years. I mean, it's not unheard of for a 15-year-old to do a 100-miler, but there's not a lot of them. And he was here last year. When he was 14. He wasn't able to finish the race. So, and I think this was now his first 100-mile finish this year. So I think he gave an attempt at URA earlier this year. But it was cool to see him run smart. He had so much encouragement out there. And I think I saw Sabrina Stanley was pacing him on a lap, which was really cool. Yeah, just really awesome. I mean, what other sport can, a teenager who's interested in it just show up and, I saw he had photos with Scott Jurek. You can just toe the line with these people, with all the rest of the sport. It's just awesome. Really cool to see that.
I was thinking about this weekend when I saw that he finished, because I've been kind of following his trajectory for, probably last year or so, just seeing like this kid, 15-year-old kid attempting URA and, running all these big races. And I'm like, man, this kid's just crushing the mountains at 15 years old. And I was like, what was I doing when I was 15? Not a lot. Like being a kid, I can't imagine what it must be like for him to, you're right, toe the line next to someone like a Scott Jurek or Pat Reagan, Darcy PQ, these people who are so stout in this sport. And like, I can't believe that.
Yeah. I wonder what like his friends think.
They probably have no idea. I guess I don't know what kind of friends he surrounds himself with. Yeah. But if he goes to school and is like, I ran 100 miles this weekend, I bet his friends are like, cool, man. I played Red Dead Redemption or something. Like 15-year-olds, man, that's the changing sport right there for sure. Getting them started when they're young. Questions. Let's get to some live questions regarding Javelina Jundred that occurred this last weekend.
Yeah, there's a question from Andrew in the chat room. Andrew asked, how many international runners do you get? Do you know the number of countries that you guys had participating?
I counted it up a couple weeks before the race. We had, I think, 21 countries, which is the most we've ever had this year.
Wow.
In multiples. It wasn't just 21 runners. It was more than that. But yeah, we've got like Mexico, Canada, Brazil, a lot from Europe. None from China, which I thought was interesting because I made a couple trips there this year. So I'm going to have to work that angle a little bit, try and send maybe some promo videos or something over, and I'll probably actually just invite some of them because I kind of am getting to know a few of them. Try and get some Chinese contingency out next year. It'd be really fun.
I know that the sport is growing big time there. Just ultra running in China has just grown exponentially. We have a big supporter of the channel who has been running in Hong Kong for a long time, and he knows a lot of the scene there. Have you seen that as a race director in other events and co-director for Javelina? Or what do you title yourself now, Javelina? Co-director?
I don't know. I'm just like
director.
No, not really director. I mean, I'm just, I don't know, owner of everything running. So kind of like.
Have you seen that change then? Like participation.
That's a great word.
That is a good one. We should just change that word to that.
I like it. That actually rolls off. Participation. That rolls off so much better than participation. Have you seen that increase from your international contingent for your races? Like across Aravaipa? Did you lose me?
I missed the last part of that question.
Okay. Have you seen...
Just for 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Have you seen international participation increase over the years being Aravaipa running race director for all your events? Have you seen that increase?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, for sure. And it depends on the event. So some of our higher profile races, like a Black Canyon and Javelina 100, those are going to see more than our local ones. But yeah.
Go ahead and get to another live question for Jamil.
Yeah, there's a question from Kim Wrinkle in the chat room. Kim asked, what is your favorite Aravaipa race to direct? And what is your favorite Aravaipa race to run?
Let's see. I haven't run all of our races. There's definitely a few that are high on the list. Black Canyon, Whiskey Basin, 88K, Flagstaff Sky Peaks. We just redid that race this year. I mean, Javelina is definitely really fun. It's also, yeah, it's a different format because it's the loops. So we get to focus on really going big with, we have 4 total aid stations. So we try and go really big with them and have huge setups. And it is a production. I mean, it really is. We're not just setting up, a little flag shoot and giving high fives. Like we are building a city, and we don't do that for every single one of our races, but this one, it's fun to go all out on and really make it feel like something really special. Like when I go to UTMB or even that race I just went to in China, Ultra Trail Ninghai, the production level is insane. And I think it's fun to have both. It's fun to have the low key, and it's fun to have the big production type events. So Javelina is our chance to give something to the sport that's unique in the US and try and build it up and make it feel like this kind of Burning Man rave something in the desert, party in the desert. So I think I sidetracked from the original question, but
that works. I also heard the can open, and this is something that I remember from the weekend. I saw pictures of this and I thought it was really cool. So you actually that's how big Javelina 100 is now. You guys got your custom beer.
We did a collaboration beer with Huss Brewing, which is a local brewery here. You see, we even have our little Javelina logo on the can.
That's awesome.
It's the Hoppy Javelina. It's about a 7% beer. It's based upon one of their IPAs. But yeah, on the back, it's Hoppy Javelina is a collaboration with Aravaipa Trail Running Group, made in honor of the Javelina 100-mile ultra trail run at McDowell Mountain Park. We brewed a juicy IPA and added the juice and rind of oranges in honor of the groves across from the park, and a hint of sage to associate the smells of the desert. So this is the second year of this, and Sweet. Currently it's tapped at both Huss Brewing locations in Phoenix. So if you're in Phoenix, you can go get it until it runs out. And they canned a bunch of it. So you could buy this at the race. Proceeds went to the Southwest Wildlife Foundation, which rescues local desert animals here. So
awesome.
That's really cool. And we have some left over, so our staff is going to be able to all give it a try and celebrate, all the hard work this year.
I am realizing like we need to have a show beer too. Like we need to have. I love the idea of having like that, since that was brewed and it sounds inspired by the race and its surroundings and that sort of thing. I love that.
Yeah, they worked with us for ideas. So then that's the ideas we gave them.
I love it. So this weekend, I know that you were out there with the camera. The thumbnail for tonight's show is you running around Jubilee with the camera on the roof of an RV, it looks like. So
the roof of her house, the Ox.
You're getting the shot, which is utmost. So
the shot I got from up there was unbelievable, by the way. It's insane.
That's all you got to put up. Don't even edit a movie together, just that shot. Just like the perfect shot. So your weekend, what does your weekend entail then? Because as the runners are running around the course, there's a lot of logistics involved with that. The aid stations, what is taking up your time? And do you get any sleep at all?
Well, maybe I'll start with my entire Javelina experience. So last Sunday, I went out to the park with one other person who was in charge of our camping tents this year on our staff, and I was chalking out the lot. So I'm beginning by literally laying chalk the lot. Yes, last Sunday. Yep.
Okay. Wow. Great.
So I'm out there. I'm chalking out where the start line is, and then where the course is going to go through. It's just the race is held in a giant parking lot, basically attached to the trail system in the park. So I'm chalking out where the course is going to go, where people can set up pop-ups, where they can set up their camping, just kind of that visual, giving our team kind of a where to put everything and runners when they arrive.
Right.
And then Monday morning, we rolled out there at sunrise with our trucks and trailers all loaded up to start aid station setup. So Monday morning, I was out there putting tents together, setting up Jackass Junction. So that was we call it the bones. So the tents and the tables, that goes first. And that was all set up Monday morning. And we're out there until sunset, basically. Come back to our office, reload all the trucks. Next day, we're setting up Coyote Camp. I think I had a day off Wednesday to hang out with my kid. And then I was back out there. I think that afternoon we had our group run that normally happens with Aravaipa. We had it at the park, and we had a campfire after that, and actually slept on site Wednesday night.
I was
We had
just going to ask
all
that. I'll just interrupt real quickly.
yeah.
I'm curious, do you have someone on site at all times? Like you start setting stuff up on Monday. Do you have someone staying with the supplies through the week?
I don't think we do the first couple days. It's most of the remote stuff, and it's like I said, it's like kind of the bones we call it. So it's just tents that are already set up. So we're not too concerned about our equipment then. But later in the week, we do have people out there. Definitely, we set up the guts of the stations next. So, yeah. So I did that, and then Thursday. Dang, I'm trying to think what I did Thursday. It's just kind of
I'm imagining it's a blur.
It's a bit of a blur. I think I was continuing, but Thursday is important because everything has to be set for the race by Thursday night because people arrive Friday morning and we pretty much need to be done and ready to showcase the experience because people show up at 6 a.m. to start setting their tents and claim their spots and pull their RVs into the lot. That's also the expo day. We have our expo offsite. So they started setting that up, I think, at 3 a.m. And yeah, there's all these pieces. It's really the magnitude of the event is pretty insane because there's all these moving parts and there's light towers rolling in and 50 restrooms and water trailers going out to aid stations. It's pretty nutty. It's mind boggling to keep track of it all. And I don't think Jubilee slept the whole week. I slept a little bit here and there.
Just in the, in the few events that we've organized, it's a lot of work, and what you're describing is so much more than that. Obviously, a huge amount of credit goes to Jubilee and the entire team. I'd be remiss to not mention that, of course, there's a whole crew of people, volunteers and staff that make something like this happen. And we've seen pictures, we've seen videos, and we've seen it all, but I can't even imagine the magnitude unless you've experienced it firsthand.
And the other thing that we did this year, which was fun, and I was pretty stoked on it, was we tried to theme our aid stations more this year. So Jackass last year, Justin really stepped it up he has like a spinning disco ball, and he's got all these lights and all these posters and banners. And so we kind of wanted to make our other aid stations special. So at Rattlesnake Ranch, you might have seen some photos with this wooden archway with a skeleton on it. It was kind of like makes it feel like you're entering a ranch. And Coyote Camp had a sheep herder's tent set up and some other really cool things like that, which was really fun to do. So yeah, for me on race day though, this year I was doing a lot of filming. I mean, it's really one of my biggest passions these days is creating content and trying to capture the experience and share it with people. So I was out doing photo and video. A lot of the photos that you saw on the Aravaipa Running Instagram throughout the race, a lot of them were mine. I was taking photos out there and trying to get them up as fast as I could, like Wi-Fi transferring them to my phone while I'm running down the trail. And and so it was, I was out there getting video. Max Romy, I don't know if you know who he is. He's a
videographer,
up-and-coming, he's a filmmaker. He's done a lot of work with Solomon. The Alaskan Mile video that Run Gun put out, that was his. And then Michael Carson, who works with me for Mountain Outpost and stuff. So he was out there as well. So, and I'm also out there to do whatever else needs to be done. So if there's a runner down or something, I know the trail really well, and I can respond out there. And also FaceTime with the runners. I really enjoy that. Encouraging people out on the trail. That's really a joy for me. I like being out front and being out in the mix with things.
We had a race yesterday, and I found myself doing the same thing. I found myself like running the extra miles to like cheer people on and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like doing that a lot. I'd rather sign up for a 100-miler and go in the opposite direction and just cheer everyone on. It's just so much more fun and not easier, but a lot more entertaining that way. Will we expect to see a movie anytime soon, or
I really
you have
want
a lot of projects on your plate?
I do. I think just like my recent China trip, I did put out like a couple of China videos back to back. People probably may be confused. One was from May. I didn't get it out until now, but I edited and turned around that video in like 2 days or something from that trip. So I'd really like to get this one done as soon as possible and just kind of put it to bed. So hopefully you'll see it something soon. We did put out a 1-minute teaser that Max Romy put together before he left town. So that is already out and it's pretty amazing. So people definitely check it out on the Aravaipa pages.
Check it out. Do it. Subscribe to the channels. Obviously, great content, not only past, but also to come. Very excited about that. Last question before moving to the post show, Jamil. What's next? Are you training for something in the near future? Are you sleeping for the next 2 weeks? Are you just in the edit room? What's going on?
I mean, I honestly, anymore, I recover pretty quick. I got 8 hours of sleep last night, so I'm like ready to go. Let's do something. What's next? Yeah. Actually, I have kind of a unique opportunity. I guess my next thing is going to film at the North Face 50 with Solomon. So they're bringing me out there to film their athletes and the experience, and hopefully I can also create my own, maybe a travel type race film on my own channel as well. But
nice.
I'm going to be working, sounds like, with Max out there, us kind of tag teaming that. So I'm really looking forward to that. As far as my training, I said yesterday that I'm going to kick off my Barkley training today. So I haven't run yet, but I think after this show, I'm going to go behind my house here and get some vert in.
You still got time.
Accountability. Check my Strava later.
Yeah, right. You still got time. And there's nothing better for training for Barkley except there's nothing better than going out with a headlamp and training for Barkley, because I feel like there's a lot of time when you're out there. A lot of time with just a headlamp. Well, we'll see you at the North Face. That should be a lot of fun.
Oh, you guys will be out there as well?
Yeah, we'll be out there. I'll be bringing the camera gear. I know, Kim, you'll probably be strapping on the running shoes, maybe, depending on. And Kim rolled her ankle this last weekend, so we're pending that, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll be there. So we'll definitely high five and partake in maybe some Javelina beer.
That's awesome. We should do I think I saw a question in there, doing a Ginger Runner Mountain Outpost collab video, maybe challenge.
We've talked about this. So we've talked about it's been like the whispers have been going for a long time now. I think last time I saw you in the whispers of the video.
Is that how you two communicate?
Just with whispers. Yes. The answer to that is Jamil and I are both on board. We'll come up with something.
Awesome.
Yeah. Jamil Coury, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You are a wonderful, wonderful human and just a super talented person all around, not only running, films, race directing, everything, organization. I always look up to Jamil when it comes to like if I can juggle this many, how does Jamil juggle like 5 times as many things? I don't get how you do it. It's awesome.
Thanks so much.
You got it, man. Remind people where they can find you on social media. So YouTube channels where they can subscribe and all the other places where they can find you and ask any residual questions.
Yeah, my main YouTube channel is Run Steep Get High. We also have Mountain Outpost. And you can find me at Jamil Coury on all different social medias. Feel free to reach out.
Do it. If you have any residual questions from tonight's episode, of course, just reach out, ask Jamil. And we are going to move into the post show. As I mentioned earlier in the show, tonight we're going to be giving something pretty dang special away. Our post shows are accessible for all Patreon supporters, all our archive post shows and all of our future post shows as well. So if you have not already, consider joining the Patreon crew. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. For as little as $1 a month, you get access to all that stuff, including tonight's post show. If you are a Patreon supporter or a GR crew member, as we like to call them, you are going to be eligible to win the prize that we're giving away in the post show, which is going to be 2 entries into the Orcas Island Trail Camp that will be taking place this coming spring here in Washington State, put on by Fleet Feet, Seattle, Brian Morrison, who we've had on the show many times. The documentary A Decade On that I did about that guy. Wonderful human. He puts on this amazing trail camp on Orcas Island. Brian Sands will be giving 1 entry away, and then we will also be giving 1 entry away to that trail camp, and we will also be there for that trail camp.
Yes.
It's hundreds of dollars. I'm realizing the audio is a little behind. Sorry. I'm realizing I'm seeing that now. That's because of the buffering. Dang it, internet. But yes, in the post show, we'll be telling you how you can enter to win one of those 2 entries. So we'll see you guys in a couple seconds for the post show with Jamil Coury. Am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so. And I do have a lot of questions pulled from the main show that we'll try and get to as well in the post show.
Yes. Sweet. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another Ginger Runner Live every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This was episode number 234 with Jamil Coury. Go to his social networks and thank him for being on the show. You guys know the drill. Otherwise, get out there, train hard, race harder, and party the hardest. I know I am. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.